Craig here. Gonna go ahead and start putting together some video tutorials on how to use the application. I've had a couple of emails from folks over the last month asking if I take the time to throw something together, and thought it was a great idea actually. And so this is my first installment. This one will be a quick start guide for using ProSat. In the time I've been talking here, I've gone ahead and fired the application up. This is as if it was had just been downloaded from the App Store, so nothing yet configured. And I'm going to walk you through the couple of steps you got to do to get up and using the application. I'm going to click through OK on a couple of these screens. This first one tells you that your NORAD databases are out of date. That's one of the 3 things I'm going to teach you how to update. And this other one is just sort of a FYI in terms of if you've been a long-time user of the application, you will have noticed in the 4.0 release a lot more touch enablement, that kind of stuff on the screens. And so this is telling people that you don't have to go through the menus necessarily to get access to a lot of the information now. So we're up, we're running. 3 things you have to set. You've got to set the location, so I know what to compute the rise set times to, or with respect to. Got to set the mode that you want the calculations to be computed on. I'll get a little more in depth there. And you got to update the NORAD databases so you have a current set of elements. So first thing here, let's go ahead and click on Settings. Click on Set Viewing Information. And what we're going to want to do is have the information here at the top get filled in. You can either type on the fields if you're on a touch or if you're away from a network connection, or you can click on the Locate button here in the upper right hand corner and it'll pull the information out of Location Services. You'll notice here it did a latitude and longitude. It didn't do an altitude because I'm not currently in a place where I have a GPS signal. So you can go ahead and just type in 6,800. That happens to be the altitude for my house here in Colorado Springs. And we're going to go ahead and that's enough information for that now. I know it can locate me on the globe. Next item I'm going to do is set the elevation that I want to use. It's defaulted to 10 degrees. That's a good number to use for if you're trying to do visible passes. 10 degrees tends to be high enough that it gets around the light pollution for the city you might be in. Next item is the kind of calculation you want it to perform. It's this enable pass filtering. With this turned off, then the calculation is basically based off of just the minimum elevation. So as long as the satellite is above that minimum elevation of 10 degrees, then it will show up in the list as being a viable pass. That kind of a mode is good because it shows daytime passes. So if you're a ham radio operator, you want to see all passes that meet your criteria. However, if you're a person who wants to go out at night and see an overflight of a satellite, then you want it to filter out all of the daytime passes, and so that's what this does. Is if you turn on enable pass filtering, then now what it'll do is it'll take out all the passes that happen during the day that don't meet the criteria, such that it only gives you the ones that are likely ones that you'll be able to go out and see. The other item you'll see here is the sun max elevation. It goes along with that enable pass filtering. This is how far below the horizon do you want the sun to be for the pass to be considered reasonable. And -6 happens to be the same as civil twilight. So by the time the sun's 6 degrees below the horizon, it's dark enough outside, the stars are starting to come out, so you've got a good chance of being able to see a satellite go over. So on this page, that's all I'm going to walk you through. We're going to go ahead and hit Settings and back you up. Next thing I need to have you do is click on that Manage Satellites. Notice down here at the bottom, just like it had that pop-up dialog that told you that your NORAD databases were too old, down here, anytime you visit this page, it'll tell you what the current state of your databases are. And in this case, it's telling you it's more than a week old. To fix that, when you're around a network connection, just click on Update Now. And you can see it's thumbing through all of these. It's going out and connecting into the CelesteTrack website and downloading all the information. Now that it's done, it's telling me that the databases are now 0 days old, so I've done an update on my database. You do this, it doesn't automatically do this operation for you, only because a lot of the folks that use the application use it on like iPod Touches, and they aren't guaranteed to have a network connection. And so I didn't want to have an approach where it was popping dialogues up at you saying it couldn't get to the network, that kind of stuff. And so instead took the approach of, since it's, it gives you up to a week's worth of time, that it's just whenever you're around a network connection during the course of that period of time, you just hit the Update Now button. Again, if you forget, not a problem. When the application starts up, it's going to remind you if the things are getting more than a week old. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and go back over here to the 2D, 3D picture. And what we're going to do on this is go ahead and walk you through how to select from either the satellite or from the What's Up Next mode for being able to get rise set time. So in this case, if it's a specific satellite that one of the 6 that you track with ProSat, and you want to know what its rise set times are, you just simply come in here and double tap on the satellite, and it's going to show you what the rise set times are for that. So you can see here, right, it's I got a pass, it looks like coming up this evening. about, what is that, 5:58 in the evening. It's got the sun is 12 degrees below the horizon, so it's going to be nice and dark outside. It's going to come available at the 10-degree minimum elevation line. For anybody who doesn't understand azimuth and elevation, azimuth is measured from true north, so 0 is north, 90 east, 180 south, 270 west, and then elevation goes from the horizon to the zenith straight overhead, and 0 at the horizon, 90 at the zenith point straight overhead. So this is telling me it's, 30 degrees north of west is where it's going to come up. It's going to have time of closest approach, TCA. It's going to have a max elevation of about 15 degrees, and it's going to be, about 30 or so degrees west of north, and then it's going to set at about 15 degrees east of north at 6:02 here. And the thing to note, it says 10.2 degrees, and that's interesting because it's actually setting on the requirement of the satellite being visible. So the satellite actually goes into darkness, and so at the 18:02 time, rather than its setting. And the reason that's of interest is because as soon as the satellite's dark and no longer can see the sun, that means it can't reflect, which means you can't see it from the ground. So the application tries to compute all this for you. If you want to do more than a single satellite, then that's exactly what the What's Up Next mode is there for you. So if you go down here in the bottom, one with a little question mark and the arrow, click on that. And here, for doing visible type passes, I would really recommend the 100 or so brightest. So go ahead and turn that on. Now, it does it for the next hour, right? So right now, it's the middle of the day for me. So for the next hour, the sun's up, which means if I do a calculation right now, nothing's going to be available. So to get around that, I'm going to hit on Settings. I'm going to override the system time. And I'm going to go ahead and make it think that the ISS pass was around 6. So I'm going to say 5:50 in the evening. I'm going to go ahead and back out of here, and I'm going to go back over to that What's Up Next, and now I'm going to tell it to go. And it's going to work its way through the database, 153 in that 100 or so brightest. And now for each one of those, it's now running through and calculating, is that satellite up and available in the next hour. And again, the hour now being simulated from 5:50 this evening. And sure enough, here's the list of all the things that are up. These are chronologically sorted, so you could just walk outside and see what's going to be available, and it'll be just a list right here. Once you pick one that you want to go see, so we're going to say this is going to be the space station pass, go ahead and just touch it. And that's going to drag you into your details page, which is going to then give you real-time steering information, real-time acquisition information. So this is telling me the time to acquisition of signal, AOS, is about 6 minutes out. And when it comes over the horizon, then that's going to automatically change to time of LOS, loss of signal. And then down here you can see the real-time azimuth and elevation steering information as to where you'd need to look. So I think that pretty much covers sort of the getting it going right out of the box. Again, just a couple of items: set up your location, decide what kind of a viewing mode calculation you want it to do, and update those databases, and then you're off to the races. Hope you enjoy using the app. Go out there and see something go over. If you have any questions, by all means, drop me an email at support@vosworks, that's VOSWORX.com.